So we go from really the kind of collaboration input that David said, collaborate as a way to come closer to your customer, find the right people to collaborate with to understand the customer, to full transformation that Wacom showed, to a different and a third approach, investment. And for this, Scott, you're already here, very, very warm welcome to stage. I would like to introduce to you Scott Gunther, General Partner at IAG Firemark Ventures, the corporate venture capital arm of Insurance Australia Group. So you see, just as international as our partners, we have them all here on stage. Insurance Australia Group is the largest general insurance company in Australia and New Zealand. And with Firemark Ventures and the recently closed 75 million fund and multiple different venturing strategies that Scott will give you some insights into, they are one of the leaders in the CVC space. And before I leave the stage and give it up to Scott, I want to give you in front of everybody, again, a very warm welcome into the InsurTech Munich community, since you quite recently actually joined us. So Scott, over to you to tell us a bit more about investment as a strategy to become more customer-centric.
Thank you, Esther, and good afternoon, everyone. We are excited to be here at DIA Munich 2022, sharing on how we are investing to connect to the next customer. And as Esther said, we are Insurance Australia Group, which is the largest general insurer in Australia and New Zealand. Now, we're more than just the traditional insurer. You know, our purpose is to make your world a safer place. But like every insurer, yes, we sell motor and property and commercial insurance, and we sell them to consumers and to businesses and farmers. But this purpose of making your world a safer place is helping us move from both just insurance, but also to assurance. And to deliver on this purpose and to lead the charge on the innovation strategy, back in 2016, IAG set up IAG Firemark Ventures, which is our corporate venture capital unit. Now, Firemark Ventures is set up specifically with its purpose to bring the outside world in to IAG by investing and partnering with startups to essentially transform how we deliver insurance. Now, at IAG, we have this philosophy that our corporate venture capital fund, Firemark Ventures, one day will be the leading insurance CVC in the world. Now, we think we have the strategy and the model to get there. We're on the right journey. And the reason we say that is because we invest looking into the startups with the best teams, with the best technology, and with the best data. Now, when we are as a strategic CVC, it's important about bringing the startup and the corporate together. So let me share with you how we do this. See, first up, we identify and invest in startups that align to our investment strategy. Then once we've invested into the startup, we connect the startup with the corporate. This is something that good strategic CVCs do. And as part of that, we have what we call a portfolio management services function. And their job is to actually play the intermediary or the quarterback or the project manager between the startup and the corporate. They help the startup actually engage and understand our business. And they help our business units understand and engage with the startup. And then lastly, once the startup and the corporate are connected, we actually then start running trials and experiments with the startup, with our real customers, our real brands, and our real channels, with the ultimate goal that we'll actually embed that startup into our business. Now, our portfolio is made up of 22 startups from across the world. And with those 22 portfolio companies, we've actually got 14 commercial agreements between our startups and our business, IAG. And we're actively running 14 trials. So there's some proof points around why we believe this strategic CVC model works. Now, our investment mandate is to focus broadly on startups that have emerging technology or unique applications of data or disruptive business models. But underneath those focus areas, there's a whole heap of technology spaces which you can see here that we will go and target through specific outbound deal flow, or that they will come inbound and we will filter. Because every startup that we invest in has to strategically align to our business strategy. Every startup we invest in has to strategically align to the customer journey. And every startup we invest in has to, and more importantly, line up to this insurance and risk framework. So we believe that a startup has that emerging tech, that unique sources of data, or that disruptive business model. It helps to help us transform how we understand risk. It has to help us understand how we can transform, how we mitigate risk. It has to help how we go forward and protect and cover risk. And in that moment that matters that Esther talked about earlier, each of the startups that we look in, we find to see how they can actually help us recover from incidents and claims. So our portfolio is made up of 22 startups. Now, predominantly our startups are coming from Australia, New Zealand, and the US. Now, we have startup investments in prop tech. We have startup investments into fintech and ag tech. We've got startup investments in cybersecurity, data enablement platforms, and the Internet of Things. We've got startups in computer vision and imagery. We've got startups in location tracking and mobility, and also startups that are actually in augmented reality. Now we are going global, and we will see that we can invest not just in the US, Australia, and New Zealand, but also in the UK, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Israel. So let me share with you some examples of our investments, how they're connecting us to the next customer. See, we are really passionate about computer vision and imagery. See, we believe that a picture can tell 1,000 words, but in insurance, a picture can give you 1,000 data points. Now, we know that computer vision imagery, it can cut across every stage of the customer journey, at quote buy, at renewal, and at claims. Computer vision imagery can touch every product, motor, can touch property, can touch commercial, and every customer segment, consumer, business, and farmers. So we've got investments into startups from the US. Arturo, an aerial imagery startup that uses AI to predict almost 50 different attributes around a residential property. We've integrated Arturo into our digital home insurance process, and it's now pre-filling the quote. And it's improving the customer experience, and it's helping our underwriting and uplifting quote conversion. We made an investment into Digital Agricultural Services, or DAS. They're an Australian ag tech startup that uses computer vision and imagery. And like Arturo, they're using imagery and AI to predict every attribute about a farm. But they're not only helping banks and insurers better understand and price risk and manage risks on farms, they're actually helping us to actually understand the footprint of every farm in Australia and New Zealand. When IAG used DAS, we helped DAS to actually improve the underinsurance gap in agri-insurance. 1 out of every 3 customers who has their farm assessed by DAS is noticing that they have assets or attributes that aren't insured, and they're increasing their sum insured. And Planner is a US startup, and we invested into them in 2021. And they use and unlock the power of smartphones, images, and videos, and they build 3D digital models or digital twins, all of the interior of a property, and they're transforming the claims customer experience. So with the rise of contactless and people who are now mobile and digital first, customers use Planner to lodge claims instantly and drive an improved experience. Claims handling times gets reduced, and claims cost estimation gets improved. So we are passionate about imagery and computer vision. We have multiple investments and multiple commercial agreements, and it connects us to the next customer. But we're also investing for the future next customer. We've made investments into the Internet of Things. We have made investments into fintech digital platforms, and we've made investments into augmented reality. We think the Internet of Things, through our investment in Myriota, it allows us through sensors to connect an asset to nanosatellites to actually allow us to connect to the internet and track anything anywhere in the world. We can track how that asset is, how it changes in its condition, and if it does have a change in condition, we can help intervene with a customer before an incident occurs. We have a digital mortgage platform investment in TikTok. Now we see that more customers are purchasing homes and taking out their finance online, and we are moving further up the customer journey and integrating and embedding insurance at point of sale. And that's our vision through our investment through TikTok. And lastly, with augmented reality, Soul Machines. They actually are digital humans or avatars. Soul Machines are working towards replacing the horrible chatbot or web chat. Soul Machines provides you with an infinite workforce and actually helps you reduce your customer service costs. And Soul Machines helps you actually connect to the next customer. Now, these technologies are in insurance today, but we have been really impressed about the impact they're already having. And over the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to go further. And why? And to finish off today, because at IAG Firemark Ventures, we think the future next customer is always connected. They are always connected to everything and everyone, regardless whether you're a consumer, a business, or a farm. We think the next customer is always embedded. Again, whether you're a consumer, a business, or a farm, insurance is part of somebody else's journey. And with the rise of digital and mobile, customers actually want insurance on their term, their times. And with all of that, you will start to see consumers, businesses, or farms will start moving to a world that they are pay-as-you-go, usage-based insurance all the time. So on that note, folks, hopefully I've been able to give you some insights on why we actually invest and how we invest to connect to the future next customer. Thank you very much, and appreciate all your time, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much, Scott. I really like the focus, the very strategic approach, and your big ambition also for your CVC. I have 2 questions for you. I'm sure there's more in the audience, so you can grab Scott after the slot as well. The first one is, you mentioned future-proofing your business, and you showed the investment. Now, I can imagine, at least when we talk to some of our partners and also beyond, anything that's about future-proofing, because it doesn't show results right now, is really difficult for organizations to commit to. So how do you solve this challenge?
What a great question. And to be truthful, like we've been going at this for 6 years, so it does take time. But one of the things that David shared a little bit earlier is, we're an Australian insurer here in Munich. Like, this is a really important part about collaboration, and it's about learning from others. And this is one thing we love to do. We love to collaborate with other insurers right across the world. And that part about bringing the outside world in has actually helped us understand that what we're doing today is good, but it's not going to help us for the future. Bringing those outside world in and new insights is a big part about how we start thinking about future-proofing our business, because what we have today isn't what we're going to be in the future.
Absolutely. So it's the learning part that makes your sales argument towards your organization.
Certainly
Learn
does
now
help.
that you later
Certainly
are prepared.
does help, correct.
Okay. And then you mentioned it's still on here, actually, the next customer and how you see the next customer. Now, what's the time frame, just to create a bit of urgency in here and create a bit of pressure on everybody in the audience as well? What's the time frame for you?
It's happening in consumer right now, and it's been around consumer for a while, but we're so bullish about seeing that it's actually moving into both commercial or small business and into large corporate and agri as well. So we would say that consumer, this is here, this is now, this is what we've seen through DIA, right? And we saw last week at ITC as well, right? This is now. But we're seeing that the next horizon is actually into SME and commercial and agri. Right, yeah. And I actually would sit there and go, well, that stuff is going to happen within the next sort of 24, 36 months.
Great. Okay, well, thanks for your insights. Also happy for the InsurTech Cup, because we're thinking about what can we do into the commercial direction. Thank you so much, Scott, for your insights around investment.